This episode is going to be about my favorite ships. I feel like, yeah, but it's my favorite ships right now. Of course, we're going to add honorable mentions because why wouldn't we? But it's just going to be exactly the favorite ships right now. Ones that obviously I would say are semi hyperfixations, to be honest. And that ones that I've been thinking about quite a lot. And as I said, it's better to talk about the ones exactly. It's want to talk about the ones that are on right now instead of like to the ones that have already been about. Like, there's so many ships in the world, anyways, and I'm just like, isn't it good if I speak about the ones that are here, the ones that like exactly the ones that like I will talk to you about them, and then you can find yourself on the boat with me, instead of like, oh, you'd have to join the boat late, for example. Okay, I'm going to start off with the first ship. The first ship is Minho and Kei. I think. Oh yeah, I did do an episode on Nexo Kitty. I do want to just check that quickly, but I did do one, right? And I really like their relationship because, of course, for one thing, their relationship's enemies to lovers, which is right. Fantastic. Enemy service is great. You can't hate it. I feel like it's so exactly. It's so gradual. And that's what I like. I think always when I think about relationships, I don't like it when they feel so random and they feel like they feel like they're just there for the plot, but not because of anything else. Like, exactly, a relationship that makes no sense. I hate those. They really annoy me because that's when people who are making a show decide to put two people together just because they're there. Like, just because they're there and they can go together. I think it's what people used to say about, or how, oh yeah, so Paul Wesley, obviously, who played Stafford in Vampire Diaries, he always said he didn't understand why they put him and Caroline together. And I didn't either. I never understood that. Of course, Caroline was supposed to end up with Klaus, but hey, who said that? Like, she was supposed to end up with Klaus, and that's just the way that it is, really. And I don't know, she also kind of could have gone to, for some reason in my head, I don't know why, but I kind of shipped her also with Alaric at one point, which is weird, of course, kind of, because no, exactly, I didn't ship her with him, before she turned a vampire, because that would have been weird. But like, obviously afterwards when she turned into a vampire and she had all this stuff going on, I thought that they would go good together. And that was just my thing. And also Alaric had such a tragic, exactly, had such a tragic story in general. Even in the beginning of the show. And then Alaric has had a hard time. And then, yes, then of course, excuse me, we know he had a hard time in the very end seasons as well, because he had that whole thing about meeting Joe and not being able to stay with Joe. Like, crazy thing. You get married, and your wife dies at the altar. Are you crazy? Are you mad? Are you mad? Everyone's finished in here. Like, there's actually no way. there's actually no way. I know we started off with TVD, right? I didn't even plan to, but or it feels like we have. Obviously, I said Minho and Kitty, and then obviously, it's because I started talking about to enemies to lovers, and I said, oh yeah, that I hate when exactly, I hate when they put two people together and it doesn't even make sense, and it just wasn't supposed to happen. Do you know what I mean? Even though, I don't know, I want to say, because with Stefan and Caroline, you think it semi makes sense, but it also doesn't. Just because I think, in a way, they would see it as semi making sense, because obviously Caroline wanted to be Elena, right? And she didn't like that Elena had two guys at her what's it called? At her, was it? Yeah, at her, like, in front of her. She didn't like that. And she didn't like exactly that. Elena would always get all of the attention, and she wouldn't get any of it. So, and they always said, oh yeah, they thought how nice Stefan was, but this and the third. So I guess that's why they kind of thought that it made sense. Although, exactly, I never liked it. I never liked it. You know, as a TVD watcher, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I didn't agree with it. I thought it was weird. So yeah, but let's refocus. So Minhao and Kitty, okay? And then, you know, I suppose with Minhao and Kitty, actually, there is obviously one flaw, which we can get into. But, like, you know, Minhao liking his friend's ex-girlfriend, you know? That's the only flaw, though. That's the only flaw. There's nothing really else wrong, I feel, in their entire storyline. You know, it's a minor. Actually, whoops, it's not minor. Sorry, it's not minor, but they may view it as minor, right? It's not. It's a semi-minor issue, but also, you know, they probably shouldn't have done it. Although I think that they're great, because I do. Like, the way that Minhao calls Kitty Covey, and that obviously that's what Peter was telling her, because it's similar to how he called Laura Jean Covey. So it's the same exact thing, you know? So it's the fact of the matter is that we know that he likes her, you know? We know that he likes her, and that's completely obvious. And I mean, he told her, right? First of all, he told her. So, and I think, I don't know, as I said it's a flaw, and that it shouldn't really necessarily be happening, because exactly, if we go into stuff like, I don't know, girl code, bro code, even though I don't really feel like bros necessarily have bro code, not really, or you don't hear about it very much. If anything, you know, they really don't. You don't hear about it very much, but I just thought it would be completely obvious, you know. Anyways, like, that's what I mean with girl code. We think it's completely obvious. So, I'm like to myself, why is it not for the guys, you know? Why? And I mean, I also want to say, of course, because we're like, in defense of that, we're like, oh, these things happen. I meant, like, with feelings, but then I also don't want to be that person as well, actually. You know, like, oh yeah, these things happen. That's crazy wording. That's crazy wording, because it's like, they shouldn't happen. They shouldn't happen. But yeah. So although they are my favorite ship right now, and I need them to be endgame, I do obviously think, like, it's good of me to think that, you know, to be aware, to know that they are my favorite shipper. I mean, they're one of my favorite ships, sorry. But it's like I know that, like, it should not work the way that it does. You know, it shouldn't work the way that it does, but, you know, they like each other, and that's cool. Even though, actually, Kitty hasn't admitted that she likes Minhao yet, even though she has dreams about him all the time, so she's close. You know what I mean? She's semi-close. She'll get there. She's just taking a long time to get there anyway. That's what's annoying about them, you know? And I think that's another thing, because they're like enemies to lovers / slow burn. That's what makes it so good, though. That's what the ingredient is, because a slow burn is so good. And I think, guys, sorry, that's what all three of these ships, actually, that obviously I'm about to discuss, have in common. They're actually all slow burns. Oh my gosh. I'm just realizing I might have a problem. You know, I may have a problem. I may have an issue. I already know that I'm a yearner, actually. Like, you know what I mean? That's besides the point. I know that, but that's quite scary that all three of them have that in common. Because I never used to be like that, you know. And I blame K-dramas anyways. This is what I'm saying. I blame them for this anyway, because I never used to be on the slow burn train. Because if two people like each other, I said, like, can we make it happen like really quickly? You know, can we make it happen really quickly? Can we get there fast? You know, and you guys can tell that I still have that in me, semi, but it's like, you know, I think I like, exactly, I like the chase, you know? So it's like, oh, and you know, actually, another thing is, if you're like me and you like these ships, that's because you're semi-delusional. Not even not even to assess it like that. This is not a free consultation, but like, obviously that's the way to assess it. Honestly, it's that you're a yearner, you're hopeless, and wait, what was the last one again? Yeah, and that you're delusional as well. I mean, because the delusion part is the fact that exactly you're like, okay, this is a slow burn, but I know they're gonna get together, you know, and you know that for a fine fact, even if they don't say it, they don't say it themselves, you know, even if they don't make that crystal clear to us, because exactly the second ship on this list, guys, is Sion and Suo, right? So again, again, that's also again back to the delusion thing, because Weak Hero has not told us that it's a BL, right? But it's 100% canon though. It's obviously why I was talking about that in my first Heartbreak episode, right? Because I was saying that, you know, relationships like Sion and Suo and Geto and Gojo, I was like, they're canon relationships, and you can't tell me otherwise, because obviously, yeah, and they want to, exactly. I said they like to do that whole, yeah, history will just call them best friends. Boo. Actually, boo. Tomatoes. What do you mean that they'll call them best friends, or they'll call it a bromance? Ugh. You know, brother, ugh. How could it just be a bromance? I don't think that that's real. Like, for it to just be a bromance. And I know what a bromance is. I'm sure you do too. Like, we both know what a bromance is. So they want me to believe that these relationships are bromances, but they're actually like they're stemming on love though. They literally are. And you know why? Because obviously what I was saying about Geto and Gojo, and of course they are one of my honourable mentions in this episode, right? But is that I was saying that, like, they talk about each other like they're past lovers, you know? You have Gojo being like, to his students, oh yeah, Geto, he was like my best friend. He was my lover, do you know what I mean? We said, just say that. Just say that. He was your lover and you loved him. You know what I mean? And again, remember in that episode, I was like, oh, we never got to find out what Geto's last words were to Gojo. And we were like, what's that about? Only lovers do that. I'm sorry. Only lovers do that. They're on their last little deathbed and they're gonna say their last words, and nine times out of 10, it's usually I love you. 9 times out of 10 is usually I love you, because they're dying and they're like, oh, I won't get to see him or her ever again, so I'm going to say it now because I won't get to say it again. Simple. And okay, and if we're going back to Sion and Suo, like, exactly, the first time that Sion and Suo meet, they are fighting one another. Okay, first meet goes crazy. They are fighting one another, and then Suo's like, bro, calm down, you know. He's like, calm down, right? And then basically Suo's looking at him like, I like this guy. Do you know what I mean? He's like, I like this guy, because he's like, he was looking at him like, oh, it's the same way when even in season 2 of Weak Hero, when Gotak meets Sion, right? It's the same thing. He's like, oh, I just helped you out. Aren't you gonna say thanks? He's like, oh, but he's like, I want to be friends with you though, you know? And it's like, oh, and again, remember, I even posted that picture of Sion and Suo actually on my YouTube, because I was like, why is Suo cupping his chin? Why is he doing that? I was like, you guys are gay. I was, remember like the Happy Death Day 2 meme? You're gay. But no, absolutely. And I don't know what else. Oh, okay, another thing again. So another example again in why they love each other is what's it called? Sion's grades, right? Sion's grades go bad while Suo's in a coma. Okay? If that doesn't tell you that they're in love, I don't know what is. Remember when we meet Sion first in Weak Hero, we see that he's like a serious nerd, bro. All he cares about is his work. Then he has these lot bullying him because he likes studying. Go off. Because he likes studying, they come and they bully him and they try to bother him, right? Cool. Then he gets swept up in that. He didn't mean to though. He didn't mean to. He gets swept up in it. And then because he's swept up, he obviously fights back, and that's cool. Of course you're going to, you know what I mean? We all retaliate when pushed. It's not crazy. He obviously, what's the word? Yeah, he obviously retaliates. Then obviously Suyo jumps in, but that's only because Sion woke him up, yeah. But so there we go. So he liked studying and he liked it crazy. Then obviously he just has all this stuff. He makes new friends. First of all, he didn't even want friends, by the way. He gets friends, which is obviously Suo and Byeomsik. And then excuse me. And then what's the word? Then everything obviously unfolds, right? And everything goes to shit, right? And so obviously these are all just roped up in crime, basically. It's because of the bullies anyway. This is what's the craziest thing. They only get roped up in all that crime stuff because of the bullies. Well, like, why couldn't you just leave them alone, right? So they get roped up into all of that. Then of course we all know how the story goes. Suo ends up in that whole fight in the ring. They cheated, by the way. Exactly, they cheated, by the way, because Suo could have won, unless for the cheating that took place. Suo's obviously stronger than these lot, again, which is completely obvious, but to refocus, they cheated. He ends up in a coma. Then, obviously, Sion's all over the place. But so this is segue, guys, into Weak Hero 2, right? So Sion's all over the place. He can't focus. He's stressed. He's always saying to Suo, okay, I'm sorry, I'm fighting again. I don't mean to, but I can't help it. And then then he also gets his grades back. I can't remember, like, probably in the first few episodes, right, of that second season. And then he gets his grades back, and they're obviously whack. But of course they are, because he's been focusing on seeing Suo in the hospital every day. He's been starting to see Suho every day, or like just very often, because this is what I mean. In the second season, right, it's like he goes to Suho almost all the time, like he's a on shift nurse or something. He goes there and he's with the new people, he's with the new friends. He's like, oh sorry, I've got to go. Like he has to go and pick up his child or a pet from the vet or something. He's like, oh, I need to go. So then he always goes and visits him, and it's like, you know what I mean? You wouldn't do that just for someone who is your pal. But hey, so he goes there and he goes to visit him, and obviously, like I said, exactly, his grades were messed up because, and he was still trying to study though. You see that in that season as well. You can see him sitting at his desk. He's still trying to study, but he just can't concentrate. So there we go. And because he's thinking about exactly his best friend, his lover though, actually. So exactly, that's case closed. So yeah, and okay, maybe we need to say my reason. Actually, remember, of course, I was trying to explain to you guys why I think they love each other, but we're gonna obviously dive into me to say why do I like them, right? I like them because I feel like exactly they'll do anything for each other, and also fact of the matter is, Suo was very persistent in wanting to be friends with Sion, and I thought that was really great. He realized that Sion didn't want friends, but he kept pushing him to have them. So I was like, that's really cute. Like, do that. And then also what Suo and Sion are. Remember, they are. What do you call it? Do they call it, what's it? Black dog, Labrador, puppy, or whatever. Do you know, one of those type of things? So it's like, you think Sion's really, really cute. Meow, meow, meow. Because, like, remember, Park Ji-yeon has those really doe eyes, right? And then you've got Suo, who's like the big dog. Like, do you know what I mean? He does all the fighting. He does all the protecting. He protects his little puppy, right? Cute. So, exactly. That's what I love. That is why they are gorgeous, and I think they're great. Basically, this episode, yeah, I'm zooming in this because it's a few points each moment, and it should be pretty crystal clear to you guys why I like these people. Also, because like how I did in the last one, for what's it called, for Minho and Kitty, let's also pull back the layers on Seung and Suo, right? And feel like if you like them, first things first, you're into BL. It's not a crime. Like, first of all, it's not a crime. I think BL is such a great genre, right? And secondly, right? Like, I think it's a great genre. And then the fact of the matter is, it's not even like, oh, it's a great genre, because people will look at it like, oh my gosh, you like two boys kissing. Slow down. What we do love, actually, is love. Secondly, because that goes back again to how I was saying about the hopelessness and yearning, right? That goes back to those. So that goes to the fact that, you love love, do you know what I mean? And you like to see exactly, people showing love to each other, you know what I mean? Suo and Suang, like, always showing up for one another and always being there for each other. Like, first of all, guys, the reason why Suo ends up in his coma, hold on a minute. Sorry. why Suo ends up in his coma in the first place is because he, what's the word? Exactly. He realizes that Sion was hurt, by the way. And then in doing that, he goes to protect him type situation, right? So he goes to protect him, and he wouldn't just do that for him if right? If he didn't love him. Do you know what I mean? Sorry. I need to take a break. I need to take a breath. What happened is I went downstairs, basically. I was going to get a snack. But back to what I was saying. Yeah, so it's like, what it makes me think of, innit? It makes me think of Glinda and Elphaba as well. And like, Elphaba was like, I'm the one you want. It's me. So it's like Suo goes to defend Sion, because he's like, you guys don't even really want him. You want me. I'm the one that you want, basically, because obviously they didn't like how Suho was like, I don't know. To me, I was like, Suho is popular, but he's also not at the same time. But he semi-was, though, I suppose. So they kind of looked at it like, oh, Suho is quite strong, blah, blah, blah. So they kind of just wanted to take him down, which was obviously what the reasoning was for him getting into that coma, because they were just like, oh, basically, we need to just take him out type situation. And you only take people out, remember, when they are the strongest. Again, think Gojo again. I'm sorry. I'm insufferable because I'm just like, this is what I mean. I guess that's why exactly like I did that episode, because Suo and Sing and Geto and Gojo have such interlinkings, you know, such themes, because we're like, right, Suho was considered to also be the strongest, right, and you know, that's why they took him out. Think that's why they put Gojo in a prison realm. It's the same thing, guys. It really is. And I feel like, so that's what I'm saying to you. So this is my reasoning again, of course, for me liking them. And actually, wait, one more thing. One more thing for me liking them, right, is Suho wanting to show Seong how to be strong, you know? Wanting to teach him so that he can protect himself type situation, you know? And I thought that was really cute. So like he wants to be able to make sure Seong can take care of himself or he's not around, you know? So I thought that was really beautiful. And again, of what I was saying to you guys about slow burning and stuff like that, that's also them two as well. Because, you know, as I said, they haven't said that Sion and Suo is considered BL, even though, you know, remember, I keep running with the fact that the director said, that Suo and Seong were like obviously supposed to like that is kind of a love story. Remember that was when the Weak Hero cast was having their panel, and then Jiun and Hungwook looked at each other like, hey, you know, they looked at each other like, hey, and we were like, yeah, you guys get it. We were like, you guys get it. And anyway, that's what I said. Actually, they're also another problem. Like, aside from their characters, I said they are also a problem because they are the reason why, as a fan base anyway, that people can exactly to fuel in the delusions even more. Like, that is even, remember what I touched on in the episode again in my first heartbreak, because I was like, you know, they keep trying, exactly, the show makes it look like they are gonna be together, and then they look like that in real life as well. Like, what is it about, remember when and I think, what is it, you know, it's crazy because we could say, oh, it's queer baiting, but then it's like, it's not even exactly, it's not close enough, because queer baiting, as we know, is more serious, right? When it can be so obvious when people are queer baiting you, because if two people are queer baiting, then they're kissing on the internet and they're actively making it look like they're in a relationship for real. Like, not even exactly, not in a jokey way. They do it, and they do it actively and properly. So that's not these two, you know. Although obviously what I said is that, like, even them in real life, you'll have Hanwook's hand on Jeon's thigh, and then, as I said in that episode, and also when Jiyoon put his face on Hwanwook's, and then he closed his eyes, but it looked like he was blushing. So, you know what I'm saying? And their longing lingering. Yeah, wrap it up. So it's just like, that's what I'm saying. It's a way to delude of people, you know? So, but then I think to myself, of course I know I can do illusions all by myself. I can do those. No worries. I can do those easy. Do you know what I mean? Light work, no reaction. So I can do that. But like, for you guys to also do it is crazy. For you guys to also do it is mad, because that means you really do want me to believe that you are. And you're not even playing around. And I mean, like, also when they talk about one another as well, that's another thing. That's not how I was talking just about Gojo and Geto. So that's how Gojo and Geto talk about each other to other people. And then Jiyeon and Hanwook, when they get asked about one another, yeah, it's crazy. They just start giggling and that. I'm just like, okay. I'm like, all right. It's so crazy. And you know, that's what I mean. It's delusion, because you're like, they're probably never going to get together. Oh, wow. And I hate that I just said that, though. I hate that I just said that, because that's not the point of that completely dismisses the point of the argument. Because obviously, I am an active shipper, you know, in this ship. Like, I am here. Do you know what I mean? So, for me to say that is crazy. But it's okay. It's okay. It's fine. Moving on. The last and final ship is, well, like, drum roll, please. Joking. My last final ship is Jinxie and Mao Mao. So crazy. I blame Twitter for this also, but then also no. It's just because like ever since I watched Apothecary Diaries, I've been getting loads of Twitter posts of Jinxie and Mao Mao. Or even actually, no, I searched my Twitter for Jinxie and Mao Mao. It's because I was just looking for a picture of them. I was using it for something, guys. Don't think anything weird about it. But I was generally using it, so I needed a picture of them. And obviously, my Twitter has been showing me a lot of them recently. And I mean, that's what I'm saying. Twitter is making my hyperfixation even worse. It was there already. You know what I mean? When I first watched this for season number 1, like the first season, sorry, it's like I already was hooked on their relationship already, but I just mean the Twitter posts are like even more, you know, even more than they were before. Even though, you know what weirds me obviously about Jinxie and Mama's relationship is that just because yeah, Mama is just a servant girl, basically. Or she's what is she? Obviously, she's an apothecary, which is obviously someone who's into medicine. It's all well and good, but obviously I just mean that she doesn't have a high place in society. So that's the thing that sometimes obviously makes it hard for me to be on their ship, just because I think to myself, how is their relationship going to work? Although I think, like, in that time era, a lot of things went amiss. So it's the type of situation where, I don't know, Jinxie could be with her if he wanted to, because I think, yes, I was having a conversation with someone about this, is that in those type of eras, like, you could have anyone that you really wanted, I feel. I mean, like, within reason, but I meant you could have any pick of anyone you wanted and you could have them. So basically, like, I guess when an emperor, like, even how Apothecary Diaries talks about is how if an emperor wanted a really young girl who is one of the servants, basically, then he can have her, you know, because who's going to say no to him, you know, type situation. No one's going to say no to him, and they can basically just exactly have their pick of whomever they choose. So I know in my head I thought how is that going to work? But then I realized in the grand scheme that, you know, a lot of crazy things happened then, you know, because I think that was what they were talking about with Jinxie's father. Like, Jinxie's father's supposed to be like some kind of, he was a really horrible king, but I feel like he basically had a preference or whatever, gross. But he had a preference or whatever for like younger females, and he wasn't really interested exactly in mature looking ones. And it's like how Jinxie's brother, the emperor, basically likes women with busty chests, but he doesn't like any other kind of woman who does not have that, you know? I'm like, these kings are weird. You know, they have such weird, I don't know, picks or preferences and types or that kind of thing. But that's what I mean. I was gonna like that, and I just meant I thought it was gonna cause gossip or whatever. Because of course, even beforehand, people were trying to talk about that they thought the age gap was going to be a problem, but then we realized that the age gap is not anything crazy, you know. Because I know that, right? I was even talking to my mum. So I think I did by my nose, but yeah, I was talking to my mum, and I was like, exactly. She thought he was older than he was at the time. You see, guys, I'm always talking about my interests to people all the time. So yeah, my family has to hear me talk about things. I don't care. But I was like, she thought he was older, remember? Because she thought he was a eunuch. So she thought he was like 25, but he's actually 19. And then obviously she's only 17. So it's fine. And literally it's like two. And this is the thing. People always want to debate or talk about age gaps, but everyone always needs to realize that with age gaps, like I never think age gaps should be normalized in the first place. But 2 years, you know, is, I don't know. It feels like, I think actually the thing of the matter is that I think in fiction, like, do you know what I mean? In fiction, it's fine, but in real life, it's not. It's what I guess, exactly was trying to put into perspective about Beyond the Bar. It was like everyone was talking about that age gap too, and they were saying, how can these two people be together? Because the real life people have like a 6-year age gap. And I was like, exactly. So you know what I mean? I said, I agree. That's so true. Because obviously what we're saying is real life age gaps should not be normalized in any kind of way. Like in real life, what we're saying is Jinshi and Mama's age gap would not work. Because, yeah, it would not work. I think like, yeah, for sure. Because I think that's if we were all at school and somebody was dating someone 2 years older than them, we would all find that weird. But do you know what I mean? As children, though, you know, we'd find that strange. And just because when you think 17 to 19, you think, well, like 19, they have 1 year until they're 20. That person is a young adult. Do you know what I mean? They are so close. So it's just like, that's what I'm saying. So I think when we think about, exactly, sometimes we like to put logic into fiction when it's like we don't really need to have that problem. But as I said, if you're talking about reality, then we have to unpack that. Do you know what I mean? And that has to be the case. Do you know what I mean? It really does have to be looked at. And then I don't know, I also think Jinshi and Mama, exactly, they both obviously just appear as teens, and it doesn't feel like they really have much of a difference between them type situation. You know, he acts childish, so does she. You know what I mean? I think that they're so in sync. You know, they just have everything in sync. So yeah. And even something I just realised actually also with Bon Appetit, for instance, is I'm seeing Mao Mao and Jinchi in them. I was like, this is what I mean. It's so crazy when you have a hyperfixation and it blurs into everything. It's so weird. You're like, you see that couple everywhere. I'm like, these are two, that my in Bon Appetit, this is two separate people. But then I also feel like why I keep comparing them to them is because, you know, like Ji-young is a chef inside the palace, so I think I see it as the same way how Mao Mao, although she's so, like, you know what I mean, she sees herself as so minor in the palace, she also has such a big position to play. Like, she has to handle medicines and she also has to taste food. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, those two things, that's really heavy. Like, she has to make sure that there's no poison in said food. She also has to like check people's illnesses. Like, this is what I mean. I said in Apothecary Diaries, I think like in the end of it, she obviously will eventually end up becoming like a female doctor for sure. I don't know how else like what's it called, how Jinshi will be on the side of that, or how he will be involved in that. But I mean, that is obviously where it's heading, you know? Where they are in the show right now, they're not really allowed to have female doctors. But of course, that is where Mao Mao is heading to, because she has such a big expertise and knowledge for these things. So it only means that that is where she'll end up. It's like how crazy exactly Ji-young only just came into that era and already she is a royal cook, and she's already making such a huge impact. You see what I mean? So that is probably why I'm seeing those two. And I meant like exactly, it's just in terms of like both of their different roles. Like, Jinshi is supposed to be the emperor's brother, so practically like the crown prince. And then, you know, what's it called? And then obviously Yeong Hee is the king. And then, you know, I mean, it's two separate different social standings. So that's what I mean. That's why I don't think my reference is like, you know, I don't think it's far-fetched. I think it makes perfect sense. And I mean, of course, obviously I do like both of those couples. So that is why I think that's why I'm seeing Jinshi and Mao Mao in them. And I think also as well, another thing of when I saw Jinshi and Mao Mao in them was when Ji-young picked up a pepper, and I was like, that reminds me of how Mao Mao gets so excited about medicines, and even when she knows something's poisonous, she still eats it. And then Jinshi's like, no, spit it out. He's like, no, spit it out, don't do that. But then, and it's the same way Young was like, oh, like, you're just gonna bite a full pepper? And he's like, he didn't know what that was, but then he was like, it's spicy. And he was looking at her crazy. He was looking at her sideways. And I was like, wow, I'm thinking about my couple. Like, I'm thinking about my homies, bro. I was like, wow, you guys remind me of somebody. I said, I think I've seen this somewhere before, you know? And I guess because it makes you think of, like, they're in separate, like, no, I mean in similar eras, but also different. Because obviously that era for Bon Appetit is the Joseon, and then you think, like, the Fairy Diaries is in, like, I don't know in what dynasty that would be in, but, like, you know, it's just in that time frame or timeline more so. So that's probably why. I don't know. I want to, obviously I like to do that thing, and I'm doing the analyzing thing again. So why would you like Jinshi and Mao Mao as a couple? Okay, if you're like me and then you like Jinshi and Mao Mao, I think what it is again, like how I was talking about earlier, you like the slow burn aspect. You think to yourself, you can wait, because as you wait, you think about more storylines and how they'll end up together. And you think about, because honestly, even with Jinshi and Mao Mao, I think about the fact that exactly, they haven't really even properly kissed. They have kind of, but it's not anything serious. Like, you know when it's like, yeah, exactly, you wait so long for the two main people to have a kiss that you're like, when they finally do it and it actually means something, then, like, bro, everything's gonna go off. It's because it's like, when I was thinking about, remember their kisses, they've had, like, Jinshi and Mao Mao had like a what's the word? They had an indirect kiss. which was, it was semi, like, it was a proper one, but not really. And then they also had when Jinshi was, what's the word? When they obviously jumped off that waterfall, then he had to, then he had to wake her up. So then he kind of did the, what do you call that? I wanted to say the Heimlich, but it's not that one. I think it's like, it's, what's it called? It's like when you, when you want to put water, or no, when their airways are trapped. So I think that's what he did, and he put his lips onto her lips. That's what that was. So that wasn't really a kiss. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was not a proper one. But I'm so rearing and ready for that. So yeah, and I mean, so again, you like slow burns. What else? You also, exactly, again, how I was talking about they're two separate, like, identities. You like that too, them being on opposite sides kind of situation. Like, they're not both in the royal space. Mama is not a royal. She don't, you know what I mean? You like that too, that kind of story. So I don't know, what do you call those stories again? Rags to riches? Yes, rags to riches. So you like that too. So, and I feel like, exactly, I've liked that for a very long time. So I think, exactly, Mama and Jinshi are not even the first. I've always liked that anyways, a type of situation where someone who's, exactly, but that brings us back to something like a Cinderella story, for instance. She had nothing, type situation. She had nothing, and then because she fell in love, she got everything. She was able to leave her evil family who were tying her down, and then she was able to like, what's it called, give revenge, like, put revenge on them. So that's exactly what it is too. So it's like, it's that kind of storyline as well, which is obviously another reason why you would like their storyline, because, exactly, liking the small town girl, for instance, is in just like someone who nobody really sees, someone who doesn't think they're really of that much importance, but it turns out they actually are, Exactly. And that's why I said to you guys, I'm so excited for Mamao to finally get that anyways. Aside from her and Jinshi, I really want her to be able to have a proper, exactly, safe place in the palace, because obviously we've seen her in the anime be in the palace, like, I guess, over the 2 seasons, and it's not really to say that she's really safe, she's not really safe. She has a very, like, temporary standing in wherever she is, and whenever, exactly, whether she's at Jinshi's place or she's at the place where she usually is at with the with one of the consorts, right? So it's just like, we want her to be able to at least be in a place where she knows that her life will not be threatened. Even though, the funny thing is, when you look at Jinshi's life, you think it doesn't even matter. Either way, even if Mama is in a good place, she may still be at threat, because, of course, that's how you realize, even when the roles are reversed, even if you're a royal, you still have to have people taste your food for you. Do you know what I mean? You can't even go without picking up your spoon for yourself to eat it first without somebody checking for you, because everyone's out to get you. So it's even weird, because you think to yourself, Mama's even more safe where she is right now, even though, she did just get kidnapped. So it can be debated. But I mean, either way, she's not safe, really. I guess back to the factors of their relationship is exactly their chemistry, the fact that everybody can tell that they like one another, but then actually, no, they can tell that Jinshi likes Mao Mao a lot, because obviously the way that he wants to protect her, the way that remember how I was talking about exactly her getting kidnapped, and then he had a hard time. He had a hard time doing anything else but thinking about her not being there. Like he was so stressed out and he couldn't think about anything else. And he had to keep trying to remember like who he was, and the fact that he couldn't be seen caring too much because obviously it's inappropriate. And then this is another thing, of course, this is what I was trying to say to you guys about like the Bon Appetit comparisons, is the fact that they can only really show their true affections like to one another, but alone. Do you know what I mean? Nobody else can really see that they like each other apart from one another. So that's exactly what would happen in the anime, and I guess near the end as well, was obviously them growing closer, but it's only them in there together. But I think everyone around them obviously also knows too, though, to be quite honest. But it's just they know that they can't do it, like they can't show it in public. So those are my favorite ships right now. Honestly, those three generally, yeah. Honestly, I was going to say, do I have any more? But really, no. Because, to be quite honest, and you see how... Hold on, you've got... In the list, you've got... So... Hold on a minute. Yeah, you've got... Okay, yeah, exactly. You have 2 live action, like exactly. I was trying to categorize them, but like 2 live action and 1 anime. So, yeah, I like how it's like, you know what I mean? It's stretched like thinly. It's not like as though, I'm just saying, oh, it's just like, like it's just from movies or from shows, like, you know what I mean? Well, actually, yeah, these are just from shows right now, but like, obviously, what's it called? But obviously, I just mean, of course, it's good that, like, you think to yourself, Gexo and Kitty is a American/Korean show, then you say, Weak Hero is a K-drama, and you say that Jinchi and Mama are an anime. So that means exactly that's what I said. I spread myself thinly across, not just boxed in. So yeah, not boxed in, and that's what you need to be like. Do you know what I'm saying? Obviously, I was saying before about I mentioned some of my honorable ships already. One that I obviously will say now, of course, is, and I think that is where I'm going to leave it off afterwards as well, is Delena. I was always into Delena from the very beginning, actually. And I've said this before because, as I was saying, I always ship male, like, second leads now anyways, even when I watched DVD the first time, I did really like Elena and Damon too. Even though the funniest thing is, I do feel like when you look at Elena and Damon's relationship, they are quite toxic. That's the craziest thing. They know that too. They're proud in knowing that as well. Remember, why do you keep... She's like, yeah. And Emma Damon's like, well, why... Then stop loving me. And she's like, but I can't. And then even remember when in Delena, and then when Damon leaves, and then it's like, please don't leave me, please don't go. And he's like, I have to, baby. I said and actually, because I was talking about this the other day actually with my mom again, but I was talking about the fact that, like, on-screen couples don't happen a lot, right? But I meant that, like, they don't happen a lot. Like, I meant for, like, more mainstream media. I was talking about how, like, I feel like Korean couples sometimes happen, like, more so. Do you know what I mean? Because even in this episode I was talking about Bon Appetit, right? Yoon obviously fell in love with her co-star from King the Land, right? So that's what I was talking about. I was saying how, like, the Korean people fall in love with each other more on screen than, like, American people do, for instance, because it doesn't happen very much. I said I feel like us, like, or more so, like, exactly, more American people, or like the fans, we are people who more so push two people together than anything, and we more wish for them to come together than how, like, Korean, I don't know, like, fan bases or people like that, or communities, they kind of never really want their two people to come together a lot of the time. It's very rare, though. I just meant because, like, they sometimes don't like it when they're Korean actors and actresses get together anyways, in general. You guys know this because, like, you know what I mean? They don't like it when K-pop idols date people or anything like that. And that's what I mean. They don't like it when Korean actors and actresses do it either. That's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm saying. Obviously, I'm saying it does happen more for us, though. But obviously, like, in saying that, I meant that because obviously Delena, they were generally real. You know what I mean? Not even like, we say not even Damon and Elena, innit? We mean Ian and Nina. Ian and Nina were actually real, and they obviously dated and they were in love with each other. I think obviously people were saying exactly when Damon leaves, in that season anyways, I think that is when, like, yeah, they were breaking up. So I think that was actually like his goodbye to her properly. Not like, oh, goodbye, like him saying goodbye to his characters, but them as a relationship, though. And then I think, when I was thinking about on-screen people as well, like, I guess when, what's it called? Oh, when Robert and Christian were together as well. And then obviously, why I brought up, like, I guess the Korean on-screen couples is because, like, I mean, they meet, right, and they get married, and I meant that I feel like they have a better, it feels weird, they have a better shelf life, for instance, though, because I meant they get together and they marry. They don't necessarily get together and then break up a lot of the time, or you just don't hear about it. I mean, like, I just mean a lot of times when they find each other, they do find each other for a long time, Because when I was thinking about, when I heard about Yoon's one, I obviously also thought about, obviously, the Crash Landing on You couple. Do you know what I mean? And they are, well, they're infamous, actually, because they probably are one of the main ones anyways, but obviously they met on Crash Landing on You, and then they got married, and they've been married for a while now. But exactly, it was just very interesting. I just think, like, on-screen chemistry is so cool, and I think obviously it makes for a better, what do you call it? It makes for a better, like, exactly, casting chemistry type situation. Like, you see that they are better when they are together. But then it's also like, you sometimes also just generally can't tell anyway, because they're acting, so they're acting, so we actually don't know anyways. Yeah, I feel like Delena was one of the main one I wanted to mention. I feel like I mentioned Honourable Mentions here and there already. So that's all I've got for you today. Like, honestly, that's all I've got for you today. These are my main favorite ships right now. They will continue to grow, though. I know that. They will continue to grow. It's funny because I feel like I need more for some reason. Because this is what we do, though, we ship people because, like, we are, like, single and we don't have that in our own love lives. Do you know what I mean? Even though that's also a lie, because you know what I think to myself, even if you're not single, you still like to ship people as well. It's not crazy. As I said before in this episode, this is the main thing. We all love love. Okay, that's the main motto here, guys. We all love love. So that means when we see two people and we think they could go great together, we're gonna ship them to be together. It's just science. It's not, because I was talking about to you guys, like, it's to do with delusion, all these other things. But first of all, it's science and it's maths, right? You know what I mean? That's what it is. You just can't deny it. So I know I kind of gave you guys all these, labels and illnesses, but to be honest, it's also just a pretty normal thing to do, right? First and foremost, if anyone tells you that, do you know what I mean? Come back to this and tell them, I told you that it's normal. Like, I told you it's normal and it's okay for you to do so. Thank you so much for listening, and see you in the next one.